Good morning and welcome. My name is Arielle Jennings, and I am the New England Executive Director of Generation Citizen. We are so glad to have joining us today incredible students, educators, and community members for the 2021 Virtual Civics Day celebration. Youth are changing our schools, neighborhoods, and communities for the better each and every day. And today we will get to celebrate all of you and the civic action Generation Citizen youth have taken across the region this year.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Clay Roy, and I'm the CEO of Generation Citizen. I grew up in Boston and began my civic engagement journey as a high school student, and I'm so honored to lead Generation Citizen today. GC's mission is to build an education movement that equips and inspires young people to transform our democracy. At the beginning of this year, at President Biden's inauguration, my favorite poet, Amanda Gorman, said, "Somehow we weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished." Your action projects are the building blocks that continue to finish this nation. Thank you for the time and effort that you've put in over the last few months. We at Generation Citizen envision a world in which young people are at the forefront of creating a more just, participatory, and inclusive democracy with greater equity in representation and in outcomes. Thank you for being those leaders in your community in 2021.
As some of you know, Generation Citizen Massachusetts and Generation Citizen Rhode Island joined forces this year to become Generation Citizen New England. It has been inspirational to see what students and teachers across both states have accomplished this school year through their Action Civics projects, from tackling climate change to gun violence to discrimination to teen mental health. Normally, Civics Day is in person and we gather together at the State House. Students share their projects with community advisors and we receive feedback and support. This year, we have done things a little bit differently. Prior to gathering virtually together today, students submitted their civics projects as pre-recorded videos, and over 100 community advisors watched these videos, volunteering their time over the last week to provide feedback and nominate some for awards. Thank you to our community advisors, many of whom are joining today. So what is in store for today? We are going to celebrate the action of all young people that they have taken to better our democracy this year. We will give out awards. We will hear words of inspiration from 6 incredible civic leaders across Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And we will hear from 2 powerful student changemakers. So thank you to our students and teachers for all you have done during this exceptionally challenging year. We would also love to thank the sponsors of today's event and longtime supporters of Generation Citizen Youth, Hogan Lovells, Fidelity, MFS Investment Management, Sanofi Genzyme, Adler Pollock and Sheehan, William Blair. We would not be able to do this work without you, so thank you. I'm now going to turn things over to our MCs for today, Kara and Keith. I want to quickly make a note before doing so that there is a closed caption option for the Zoom call today in your toolbar. So you can check that out if you would like to, and we'll drop some directions in the chat. Over to you, Kara and Keith.
All right, thank you, Arielle, and thank you, Liz. We were so grateful and excited. We're so grateful and excited to have you leading Generation Citizen at this pivotal moment in our country and in our organization.
It's so great to see so many names from all over Massachusetts and Rhode Island. We're grateful for your presence and participation over the next hour or so.
And thank you, everyone, for joining our New England Virtual Civics Day celebration. I'm Keith Chappelle, I'm Program Manager with Generation Citizen.
And I'm Kara Fraker, Senior Program Manager with Generation Citizen. Keith and I are so thrilled to have worked with dedicated and passionate students and teachers this year. Despite a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, distance learning, and our country's overdue reckoning with systemic racial oppression, the projects that were submitted to the judges this year were just as impressive, if not more so than past years. Thank you for your hard work and your commitment to improving the lives of folks in your communities.
And if you haven't had a chance yet, shout out your first name and city or town. We'd love to see who's here today. And if you're wondering how, at the bottom of your screen in the Zoom window, you should see a button that has chat written on it. I know a lot of you have done this already, but make sure you choose panelists and attendees so everyone can see what you chat out. Oh. Welcome. See, we have some from Providence, Malden, and Cambridge. A lot of Malden representation. Welcome everybody, and a couple in Needham.
So if you are new to Generation Citizen, our mission is to transform civics education so that young people are equipped and inspired to exercise their civic power. We have sites in 6 states that include Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Texas, Oklahoma, New York, and California. Here at our New England site, we serve over 12,000 students, work with 150 teachers in over 500 classrooms within 23 districts and schools across Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And today we would like to acknowledge that this virtual event is being held on the traditional lands of the Confederation of the Indigenous Massachusetts and the Narragansett, Niantic, Nipmuc, Pequot, and Wampanoag peoples. These tribes survived violence and displacement and continue to live on this land. We acknowledge the ways those among us who are not descendants of the indigenous peoples of this land have benefited from the violence against the ancestral keepers of this land. We acknowledge generations of survival and resilience and the active living presence of these tribes. And if you would like to learn more about the practice of land acknowledgements like this one, there are some websites here on your screen that we will also drop in the chat. And to get involved, there are some other websites on your screen that we will also be putting in the chat.
I want to share a few norms for this virtual space. So your videos are all off and you're muted. So if you're home and if you need to stand up, jump around, get a snack, do what you need to do. And again, to enable subtitles, click on CC near the bottom right on Zoom, and then click Live Transcript, and then click Show Subtitle. After you complete those 3 steps, subtitles will appear at the bottom of your screen. Remember, if you're in the classroom, adhere to your teacher's classroom policy with cell phone usage during the event this morning. And then also, please use the chat feature to engage with participants. Make sure you choose panelists and attendees so everyone can see what you chat out. And lastly, bring a civic joy mindset. All right. And besides interacting with everyone through the chat, we'd also love, with teacher permission, for you to tweet along with us. Use hashtag CivicsDayGC and hashtag Student Voices. We'll be taking moments to pause for you to chat and tweet throughout the event. And thank you all for sharing today.
So before we announce our first series of awards, we're going to hear a few words from our first guest speaker, Rhode Island Representative David Morales, who will share some thoughts on the impact and importance of youth on influencing lawmakers' decisions on policy and passing legislative bills. You can find Rep. Morales on Twitter at @DavidMoralesRI, which we'll put in the chat.
Hello, Generation Citizen Scholars. My name is David Morales, and I am the state representative for District 7 here in Providence, Rhode Island, and I am so excited to be joining you all today for your Civics Day of Education. Now, I want to talk about the impact and the importance that youth, such as yourselves, have when it comes to the decision-making of lawmakers such as myself in regards to public policy and the decisions we make when passing legislation. And I want to be very clear that when it comes to youth organizing and youth advocacy, the one thing that youth do better than any other organizers or advocates around is incorporating your personal experience, your lived experience, to explain to people such as myself why a law is important and why it needs to pass. For example, in Massachusetts, there was a group of youth, students, and coalitions that came together to mobilize around the fact that quality public education was a constitutional right. And when the students were advocating for this, they discussed their lived experience in the Massachusetts public school system and the fact that they were not receiving the resources and the investments that they deserved and how it was going to impact their future. Here in Providence, in Rhode Island in particular, we have the Providence Student Union and the PASS Coalition that are working together to reallocate funding from school resource officers towards mental health support instead. And when it comes to that type of advocacy, we have a lot of youth in Providence who talk about their need for mental health and how it impacts their academic performance. So as you can see, all of this is connected to one another. It is so important that youth such as yourselves talk about your experience and why it is important that we pass certain laws or use taxpayer money in a certain way that's going to help our communities. Because from healthcare to housing to public education, everyone has a story on how they can relate to such an issue. And most importantly, the ways in which you can get involved, the ways in which youth have mastered the way to get involved, is through submitting testimony when there's a piece of legislation being heard and voicing your opinion, making phone calls to your legislators, sending emails, using social media. The youth, in my opinion, have been very effective to communicate with lawmakers such as myself about the issues most important to you, again, based on lived experience. So I would encourage all of you today to remember and recognize how powerful your voice is and how influential it can be when influencing a lawmaker's decisions on how they're going to vote on a bill or some of the bills that they might introduce themselves. So if you haven't already, take the time to get to know who your city councilor is, who your state representative is, and who your state senator is. Because together, when the youth mobilize, there is so much that we can accomplish. There is so much that we can do to show our government that, hey, the youth is not only the future, the youth is the present. And our demands must be heard to ensure that everyone has a higher standard of living and that we live in a state and a city where socioeconomic justice is prioritized. So thank you again for the invitation to speak, Generation Citizen students, and I look forward to working with all of you in the near future. Take care.
All right, thank you again, Representative Morales, for your powerful words on young people's impact on legislators. And now for our first series of awards on Generation Citizens' 5 core values. Our core values reflect the principles we believe are necessary to bring our vision to reality. These values embody the spirit of our organization, both in what we do and how we do it. Our first value, grassroots change, is our class project that clearly and compellingly articulates why the students' focus issue matters to them and their community. And this award goes to Ms. Lander's class at Lowell High School in Lowell, Massachusetts, whose project aimed to stop and prevent anti-Asian hate in their school and community. The next value, systemic impact, is for a class project that provides sound evidence-based reasoning for how their project addresses systemic root causes. This award goes to Mr. White's class at Kickamuit Middle School in Bristol-Warren, Rhode Island, whose project advocated to install solar panels on the roof of their school. The value, collaboration and diversity, is meant for a class of students who demonstrate strong engagement of local community members in their work. This award goes to Ms. Miller's class at Jarrett High School in Providence, Rhode Island, whose class advocated for increased awareness of the causes of homelessness and increased affordable housing opportunities. The value of action is for a class project that uses a variety of thoughtful tactics to make progress toward accomplishing students' goals. This award goes to Mr. Blanchett's class at Morton Middle School in Fall River, Massachusetts, where students introduced a new city ordinance to ban plastic bags while simultaneously advocating for a statewide ban. Our final GC value, open-mindedness, refers to a class of students who thoughtfully reflect on their process and connect their GC experiences to future possibilities. This award goes to Mr. Rackett's class at Marsh Grammar School in Methuen, Massachusetts, whose project advocated to improve student mental health resources across their district. Now let's fill the chat with lots of congratulations to all the award winners.
We are very fortunate, grateful, and excited for our next guest speaker, Boston City Councilor Julia Mejia, who has prepared a speech in Spanish specifically for our GC students whose home language is Spanish. An English translation of Councilor Mejia's speech will be put in the chat. You can find City Councilor Mejia on Twitter at Julia for Boston.
Hola a todos, es la concejal Julia Mejía, la primera mujer latina que representa en el concejal de la ciudad de Boston. Muy agradecida de estar aquí con ustedes hoy para hablarles sobre la importancia del movimiento de los jóvenes. Los jóvenes han sido siempre que han desarrollado todo lo que tiene que ver con el activismo. Los jóvenes son lo que siempre me han informado toda mi carrera y los trabajos que yo he hecho siempre ha sido con la juventud. Como concejal en mi oficina, nosotros trabajamos acerca con los jóvenes para desarrollar nuestros proyectos y también todas las leyes que hemos escrito, la mayoría han sido con las voces de los jóvenes. También en nuestra oficina, con la asistencia de los jóvenes, nosotros pusimos una nueva ley para reducir la edad para las personas que puedan votar. Vamos a ver si se puede pasar esta ley para que los jóvenes de 16 años adelante puedan votar, porque nosotros sabemos que los jóvenes son lo que de verdadmente están desarrollando todos lo que tiene que ver con el activismo. Aquí estoy bien agradecida para poder comunicarme con ustedes y a dejarles saber que nada de nosotros sin nosotros es para nosotros. Otra vez le digo que nada para nosotros sin nosotros es para nosotros. Y eso quiere decir que los jóvenes tienen que estar incluidos en todas las conversaciones que tienen que ver con la política. Espero que ustedes sigan adelante y sigan abogando por sus derechos. Y no se olviden, ¿ok? Que ustedes son los que deben estar siempre adelante con todo. Ustedes no son el futuro, ustedes son el presente. Y nosotros como adultos tenemos que algunas veces ponernos a un lado para que ustedes sigan adelante. Soy bien agradecida, les deseo mucha suerte, pero más importante, sigan levantando sus voces, sigan abogando por sus derechos y sigan haciendo un movimiento fuerte. Un besote y lo quiero mucho. Otra vez, Julia Mejía, la concejal de la ciudad de Boston, la primera mujer latina que representa en la ciudad y no quiero ser la última. Necesitamos que los jóvenes salgan adelante y declaren sus derechos. Un besote. Chao.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia, for challenging all of us to reconsider young people as the here and now of democracy. And before we move on, I want to make sure that we thank all of our teachers that we've worked with. We greatly appreciate all the hard work you've done this year and how you showed up for your students. And shortly, we'll recognize a teacher changemaker in both Massachusetts and Rhode Island who have made a substantial contribution to Action Civics for their students, school, and community. However, before we announce these awards, we'd like to take a moment to celebrate all teachers who have worked tirelessly during a challenging school year, facing too many hurdles to name here. Let's all sing our praises in the chat for the educators who have shown up today and day after day to support students learning during the pandemic. And now, our two Teacher Changemaker Award winners.
It is my honor to announce our first winner, Christopher Blanchette from Massachusetts. Chris is an 8th grade social studies teacher and baseball coach at Morton Middle School in Fall River, Massachusetts. This is his 3rd year teaching Generation Citizen. This year, Chris's students went before the Fall River City Council on numerous occasions and successfully advocated for ordinances banning the use of plastic bags and creating fines for balloon releases, which have a devastating impact on marine life. His students were also recognized for their work on gang violence and inspired the Fall River Committee on Human Services, Housing, Youth, and Elder Affairs to create a resolution to take up the matter. Chris's dedication to student leadership in his classroom is evident in his students' advocacy efforts, both as a part of their GC projects and beyond. His unwavering support of his students makes him this year's Massachusetts Teacher Changemaker.
Congratulations, Chris. Good morning. My name is Christina Paris, and I am Generation Citizens New England Program Director. And I'm extremely excited to announce that Miss Elizabeth Paolela is Rhode Island's Teacher Changemaker Award recipient. Miss Paolela is an 8th grade social studies teacher at Hamlet Middle School in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. This is Miss Paolela's 3rd year teaching Generation Citizen, and this year she led 7 different Action Civic sections with students both virtually and in person. She has prioritized creating a safe space for her students to engage in difficult personal conversations around topics like sexual assault, drug abuse, and homelessness. She has also ensured that students connect with their community by engaging with community guest speakers like that of the Sojourner House. Her students are continuing their pursuit of systemic change by furthering their projects post-Civics Day with upcoming meetings with district administrators asking for changes in their curriculum. This year, Ms. Paolela showcased deep creativity in a virtual world, a student-centered approach to learning, and offered a strong Action Civics experience for her students, making her this year's Rhode Island Teacher Changemaker. Once again, congratulations, Mr. Blanchett and Ms. Paolela. We are so excited to celebrate you both, and thank you for providing your students with an exceptional Action Civics experience.
Before we announce top middle school projects, we're excited to hear a recorded video from another guest speaker, Massachusetts State Representative Trom Nguyen, who will share some thoughts about the importance of civics projects like Generation Citizen, particularly during an incredibly challenging school year. You can find Rep. Nguyen on Twitter at Team Trom.
Hi students, this is Massachusetts State Representative Trom Nguyen of the 18th Essex District, and I'm so glad to be joining you on this very important occasion. Civics projects and programs like yours are powering an exciting growth in civic engagement in students like you, and that makes me so hopeful for the future. First, I want to congratulate and commend you for all your hard work on your civics project this year. Additionally, I want to thank your teachers for all the work they've put in to guide you to complete these projects. And I know that you are just as grateful for the hard work that your teachers have put into this to make sure that you get this done. You've all faced so many obstacles this year during the pandemic, but all of you have persevered and we're all the better for it. Despite the pandemic, or because of it, you students learned more, you have adapted more, and faced more than any other generations of students before you. And I believe that you're stronger for it. More than any other class in the past 100 years, you saw the role of government and how it helps its citizens through a historic event like a global pandemic, and you experienced a year-long state of emergency as well as economic shutdown, and you learned about infection rates, mortality rates, and miraculously vaccination rates. You witnessed debates over masks and vaccines and just how much a governing body can mandate here in America. Even in your own schools, debates are raging about remote learning versus hybrid versus fully in-person learning. Decisions are being made at every single level that affects you and your family's health. And during this time, you've stepped up and advocated for your community. And it wasn't all about COVID-19. You advocated for common sense gun laws, for racially and culturally inclusive education curriculum, for pride, and for police reform. You looked around and saw a problem in your community that needed solving, and you worked hard to find a solution. And by doing that, you became the solution. By getting involved, you led the way, and maybe even changed the thinking of older folks in charge. One thing is for sure, the people in charge took notice of your involvement. Instead of ignoring youth as they have done in the past, decision makers realize that you are a force to be reckoned with, and they have to listen to you. We have to listen to you. Here in my office, several students came to me with an idea for a bill about healthy body size discrimination education, and we filed that bill. I am sure every single one of you has ideas for state or local governments, and I encourage you all to reach out to your local or state elected officials or even Congress to share those ideas, because we want to hear from you. We want to hear about the things that you care about. You just remember, you do make a difference. And I encourage you all to maintain your interest in civics engagement and even expand on it. Start by voting in every election. The youth vote can become an overwhelming force that can change the direction of politics. We've seen that happen this past election cycle, and we want to see that continue to happen. Suddenly, your elected officials will care about the issues that you care about, like student debt, as well as climate change, and so many of the other issues that you're fighting for. But beyond voting, advocate for the issues that you care about. Go to your town meetings or city council meetings and reach out to the people who make decisions that affect your life or your family's lives. Your voice matters, and you need to remember that I, as well as so many others, are so proud of you, and we encourage you to consider becoming one of the decision makers. Every single one of you has the potential to become the next member of the select board, member of the city council or the school committee or state representative or even beyond. So please stay involved, keep being engaged, and make sure that the people who you work with know what you care about. I can't emphasize enough that young people like you are the future. It's in your hands and the future looks bright. So continue to do what you do, stay in touch, be engaged, and feel free to reach out anytime. I wish you a wonderful civics event.
Thank you, Rep. Wynn, for reminding students that they are an essential part of the solution on issues they care about. Our next awards will be going out to our top middle school class projects in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. From the state of Rhode Island, the winner is Ms. Paulella's class at Hamlet Middle School in Woonsocket, whose project advocated for stronger drug abuse prevention education at their school. Congratulations. Here's a clip of their project.
Root cause, lack of education. People don't know how dangerous drugs can be. Our project addressed the root cause of the issue by directly teaching the students the dangers of drugs at an age where they might be introduced to them. This can help reduce teen drugs use in our community. Our root causes we came up with: stress at work or school, peer pressure, or self-medication.
Our goal is to advocate for a drug abuse education program in Woonsocket Middle School by working with the education department at the local level. We chose this goal because this is one of the most direct ways we can positively affect students in the school community when it comes to drug abuse. This project can create long-term changes in many ways by increasing education in the school system. Teens can get knowledge they need about drugs. This type of program can reduce student drug use and teen-related drug accidents in our community.
Congrats again on such an impressive project. And from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the winner is Mr. Moss's class at Thurgood Marshall Middle School in Lynn, whose project advocated for the Empower Act in order to give municipalities the ability to lower the voting age to 16 in local elections. Congratulations. And here is a clip of their project.
We reached out to all of the city councilors of Lynn to ask them to reach out to state representatives and state senator who represent the city of Lynn to call on them to support the passage of the Empower Act. Two of them, Brian Field and Brian LaPierre, replied. They were both in favor of lowering the voting age to 16. We met with City Councilor LaPierre over Zoom. Once the Empower Act is passed, LaPierre said that he was in favor of introducing the proposal to the City Council. We also reached out to State Senator Brendan Crichton and met with him over Zoom. He has agreed to sign on the bill as a co-sponsor of the Empower Act in the Senate as a way to show his support of the passage of the bill. Senator Crichton has suggested that we put a letter of support together to the chair and vice chairs of the Joint Committee on Election Laws that express why the Empower Act should be passed. We plan on listening to Senator Crichton's suggestion that we put a letter of support together to the chair and vice chairs of the Joint Committee on Election Laws that express why the Empower Act should be passed. We will be writing to Senators Barry R. Feingold, Adam Gomez, and Representatives Daniel J. Ryan and Tommy Vitolo. We learned that with enough help from your peers, you can get your voice heard. We all got better at talking to leaders that we don't know, whether after feeling shy or stuttering a lot. We got better at not losing our train of thought while speaking as well, and now know how to send well-developed emails to people, and that it's crucial to have evidence for all the work that you do. We are all more confident about speaking our minds about topics we care about when they're touched on, and we all believe that anyone can have their voices heard if you speak up on what is bothering you.
Hello, and congratulations again to our top middle school class projects. My name is Angela Ortiz, and I'm a program associate for GC New England, and I'm here to present the first of two Student Changemaker Award winners. The Student Changemaker Award is given to students who emerge as leaders during their class projects, motivate other students to move forward in their advocacy, and exemplify student-led changemaking within their communities. Our first award for Massachusetts Student Changemaker is Kaylee, an 8th grade student at Bellamy Middle School in Chicopee, Massachusetts. Kaylee has prepared some remarks for us to share here.
Hello, my name is Kaylee Mandrala. I'm an 8th grade student at Edward Bellamy Middle School in Chicopee, Massachusetts. These recent years, a pandemic has spread throughout the world and has affected me and many others, mostly in negative ways. That is why I've put my best foot forward to work on this Generation Citizen project to help others that are in need. Our class started with many ideas, some taking too much time or some no one had an interest in. We had decided to go between more break time and the topic of mental health. It was an interesting next couple of days deciding between topics. There were slideshows made, people speaking out in class, which is rare. Before the slideshows were made, I remember staying after class just saying, we need to get our stuff together. It was one of the most important things we were working on, and I couldn't let all that work go down the drain. Thankfully, mental health was chosen, and I was overjoyed. I have been passionate about these past couple of months because I've struggled with my fair share of mental health, and COVID hasn't made it any better, so I want to contribute and help others because I know how it feels. In the end, we chose peer counseling. We wanted to engage ourselves in our actual project. From our own experiences, we believe that students will talk more with kids their age rather than adults. Adults can be intimidating, even if they are welcoming, or students could just be shy around teachers. From personal experience, I know lots of students have become more introverted and antisocial, so we want to make them as comfortable as possible. This should help students engage more in conversations with whatever they need to talk about. We want our trained students to come off as a friend that's there for you. We had a couple of guest speakers ranging from our school psychologist to a pediatrician. We were so ecstatic to have these professionals come to our class and share their knowledge with us. It was such a great experience, and they all were very impressed with the notes and progress we made in the project. We showed the guest speakers all the data we collected through the project, and they seemed rather impressed. Our last step was to attach these results to the emails sent to the decision maker and the supporters of our project. From this project, I realized if you want something done, you have to use your voice and make change happen. Change also requires teamwork and communicating with your peers. I have also realized that this project could benefit students from both perspectives. Knowing that I could make a difference or help someone out can have a positive impact on their lives. Not only does this help them, but it makes me happy that I was able to provide the necessary support they needed at that specific time. I'm almost done with 8th grade, and these last 3 years have been a lot, but amazing. I would like to thank all the people in Generation Citizen for creating this program and giving me this award. I would also like to thank my parents for supporting and encouraging me through all the days I've cried to them. And most importantly, I would like to thank my social studies teacher, Mr. Silas, for giving me this opportunity and supporting me through the project. He's been my number one supporter and pushed me to do things out of my comfort zone. Thank you all. Hello, my name is...
Thank you, Kaylee, for sharing your inspiring story. Congratulations on finishing up 8th grade, and we can't wait to hear about what you accomplish over the next 4 years in high school. Our Rhode Island student changemaker will be announced shortly. But in the meantime, we'd like to hear from another guest speaker, Rhode Island Deputy Secretary of State, Melissa Husband, who will share some thoughts about young people engaging in democracy. You can find Rhode Island Deputy Secretary of State, Melissa Husband on Twitter at Melissa M. Husband.
Hello, Generation Citizen. I'm Rhode Island's Deputy Secretary of State, Melissa Husband. And on behalf of Secretary of State Nellie Gorbea in our office, thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your Civics Day. One of the things I enjoy most about my job is the chance to speak with young adults who are engaged in their communities and have the desire to create positive change. I'm sure I don't have to remind this group that democracy works best when we all participate, and that means voting. Casting your ballot is the most direct way to create change. There's a stigma that young people don't vote or they don't care, but you've shown that that is certainly not the case. Young voters were a big part of the record turnout we just saw in November, so keep voting. Or just make sure that you're ready when the time comes and encourage your friends and family to do the same. Here in Rhode Island, you can pre-register starting at age 16 so that you're ready to go when your 18th birthday rolls around. If you don't vote, you won't be taken into consideration when decisions are made about your lives, your family's lives, and your future. Voting gives you the power to help solve the challenges that affect your generation. Things like student loan debt, climate change, or the tough job market. And remember, your vote matters on all levels of government. The presidential election may have received the most attention, but local and statewide races have a huge impact on your lives and the lives of your family. For those of you who live in Rhode Island, head to our Voter Information Center at vote.rri.gov to learn how to register to vote or to update your voter information. While you're there, take a look at the section that provides information on how elections work in Rhode Island. There are great tools that you can use to talk to your friends and your family about the elections process and how voting can make a difference. Lastly, let me remind you that no matter what your stance is on any issue, it's important that you listen and you talk to others, because without dialogue, we move nowhere. In Generation Citizen, you're gaining the knowledge and communication tools to make that happen. And you clearly already have the energy and some very exciting ideas. So I look forward to working with all of you to increase civic engagement and to create a more just and inclusive democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhode Island Deputy Secretary of State, Melissa Husband, for sharing why young people should register to vote and how the civic skills and knowledge from GC projects play a role in voting in future elections. And now we'll transition over to our top high school class projects in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. From the state of Rhode Island, the winner is Miss Ullman's class at School 1 in Providence, whose project aimed to address climate change and homelessness by advocating for the passage of the Rescue Rhode Island Act. Congratulations, and here's a clip of their project.
Before deciding on the Rescue Rhode Island Act being our main focus, we created a list of issues in our community we could help change for the better. After some votes, careful consideration, and deeper research, we discovered the two issues we were most eager to focus on. These issues were poverty and homelessness, as well as climate change. That is when we discovered the Rescue Rhode Island Act, which combined more than one of our class interests. We analyzed some of the root causes of each issue, exploring such problems as corporate interests, lobbying, industrial pollution, income inequality, high housing costs, low minimum wage, systemic racism, and people not understanding in or believing in climate change. To address these things, the Rescue Rhode Island Act creates green union jobs and affordable housing, along with the sustainable living opportunities. We also plan to educate our school community about the importance of these issues.
To take action on our civic issue, we decided to hold a school-wide event called School One Rescues Rhode Island. We had attendees participate in a letter writing campaign to elected officials and included gardening and a neighborhood cleanup to express support for the Rescue Rhode Island Act. School One Rescues Rhode Island also provided an opportunity for our community to safely come together outside in beautiful weather after a year apart because of COVID-19. Students, teachers, parents, neighbors, and dogs came out to show their support and have fun doing it together.
Before deciding on the rescue,
Congratulations again on doing amazing work. And from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the winner is Mr. Cripps's class at Methuen High School in Methuen, Massachusetts, whose project advocated to make mental health screening protocols more culturally sensitive by adding questions about race and LGBTQIA identification. Congratulations, and here's a clip of their project.
Our class chose this focus issue specifically because we had come to a standstill when deciding between focusing on mental health or discrimination. As I proposed that we combine the two, we reached a consensus and landed on our focus issue of disproportionate poor mental health rates due to discrimination against minority groups such as those in certain racial/ethnic groups, as well as those that are a part of the LGBTQ community. MHS is a very diverse school, and we as a class believe that all students deserve the proper attention to issues they may be facing. Discrimination plays a huge role in the mental health of students belonging to minority groups in the school. They deserve to be noticed as individuals facing this problem, and the fact that they are part of these minority groups should not be ignored. All students deserve representation in the school and a guidance department that considers all factors contributing to their mental health and works to combat these issues systemically.
Congrats again to our top high school class projects. And now on to our second Student Changemaker Award. This year's Rhode Island Student Changemaker Award goes to Aruni, a sophomore at Woonsocket High in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Aruni has prepared some remarks for us to share here.
Hello all, virtual greetings from Woonsocket High School. My name is Aruni Sitapone and I am a sophomore at Woonsocket High School in the Woonsocket Area Career and Technical Center. First of all, I would like to thank my history teacher, Mr. Lovely, for nominating me for this award. Thank you for your continued support in my academic endeavors. So the focus of my project is around early childhood education and cultural sensitivity and methods to de-escalate discriminatory acts of harm or violence. We all know that the last year has been eye-opening in so many ways. As social movements began to move and years of trauma came to the forefront, the public was forced to deal with things that had been continuously pushed under the rug. Because of this, many of us were getting traumatized and re-traumatized over and over again. As we saw the people who looked like us and our friends and family die, we never had the chance to heal. We were left wondering, what would I do if this happened to me? And how do I prepare myself for ignorance? While we were left to deal with the constant worries in our own heads, our children were left behind. There is no way we can protect our youth from the harm and violence that we face, but we can prepare for them for what to do when it happens. My project is meant to teach children the right things to do when they witness acts of violence and discrimination in an age-appropriate way that is not meant to traumatize them. Our thoughts and actions are ingrained in us from an early age, so it is vital that we teach our youth to be culture aware as early as possible. I know that most of us have been learning and relearning how and why we think the things we do, and I want us to avoid this with these new upcoming generations. As I look forward to the future, I plan on graduating high school and going to a four-year university. My main interests lie in accessibility, STEM, and social justice. I am particularly interested in the intersection between STEM and social justice. Helping people is my passion, and as I continue to progress throughout my academic and professional career, I plan on bettering the world and becoming a pioneer for change. Hello all.
Thank you, Rooney, for your dedication to bettering the world, and congratulations again for being this year's Rhode Island Student Changemaker. Before we come to a close, We're thrilled to hear some remarks from U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who will share some thoughts about the importance of being civically engaged and the power of knowledge. You can find Senator Warren on Twitter at SenWarren.
Hello. I wish I could be there with you in person today, but I'm grateful for the chance to deliver this message by video. In our democracy, government is just another name for the things that we, the people, do together. That means that it's my job as your senior United States Senator to tackle challenges that affect Massachusetts families. Challenges like how to make healthcare and education and childcare more affordable. Challenges like how to fight climate change. Challenges like how to level the playing field so everyone, not just a handful of those at the top, but everyone has a chance to build a secure future. That's what government in a democracy is all about. You're here to learn everything you can about the issues because someday it's going to be up to you and to your generation to build a better future for all of us. And that day may come sooner than you think. Young people everywhere are really out there shaking things up. Our country needs you to fight for the issues you care about, those that hit you right in the heart. Climate change, racial justice, gun violence prevention. Your voice matters. So don't be afraid to speak out and don't let the fear of making a mistake stop you from fighting for what you believe in. Organize so that more people can participate in our political process. Volunteer at your local nonprofit and remind your friends and family, stay engaged. And don't underestimate the power of voting. We protect our democracy by voting for our values. So I hope you continue learning and getting engaged because, believe me on this, knowledge is power. And the more knowledge you have, the more power you have to make a real difference. It's good to be here with you today. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Senator Warren, for your powerful words on being engaged and not letting the fear of making mistakes prevent you from getting involved. To close out today's event, we hope you'll answer our call to action by posting on social media our Civics Day celebration. Finish this phrase with whatever is most meaningful to you or by describing the project of your favorite classroom. So finish this sentence. Your school or city students are the future of democracy and they fill in the blank. And just a reminder that if you're in school right now, you need to make sure you're following your teacher's social media policies and cell phone policies. But if you are able to tweet, you can use the hashtags #CivicsDayGC and #StudentVoice. And be sure to tag us. Our handle is @GenCitizen. And I think we're going to give everyone a moment to do that.
We also want to encourage you to advocate for youth voice in your communities. Talk to your principal, call your representatives, and work with organizations in your communities that are on the ground tackling issues you care about. Your voices, student voices, should be a part of making the decisions that impact your lives. Call or email these folks to make sure they are.
Thank you from everyone on the Generation Citizen New England team for spending time with us today. And a special thank you to all of our students and educators who put forth incredible effort with their GC projects. Congratulations to all of our award winners and to every student who worked hard to make change in their communities this year. This concludes our Spring 2021 Civics Day, and we hope to see you all for an in-person celebration in the year to come.